Hello, and welcome to Spiritually Speaking with Althea. I'm Althea Jacob, and I'm delighted you're joining me today. Today's episode, we're going to talk about spirituality and your soul's purpose. So, spirituality and your soul's purpose. So, when you hear the word spirituality, a lot of people ask me, well, what exactly is that? And how is that different from religion? And, my soul's purpose, I don't even know what I want, let alone what my soul's purpose is. How can I start to figure some of these things out? One of the easiest ways I think that we can start with all this is kind of taking a step back. And everything that we're experiencing in some way is in what the physicist will say is in a quantum field. And part of the challenge we have is that we have a finite mind and we're trying to understand the infinite. And anything that we glimpse of eternity or the celestial world or the other side of the veil or however, anything that's not of this physical plane that we're glimpsing, in a lot of ways, it's like we're on a trampoline, jumping up and peeking over a fence and trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle of like, well, what's that world like and what's happening and what happens after we die and all these really significant questions. We really don't have the tools often to understand just because we're a finite mind trying to understand the infinite. So what we need to recognize is that whatever comes through to us and to others is going to come through the filters of what we know. I know in a lot of scriptures, they constantly will say things like, God speaks to us in words that we understand, or the equivalent to that. So the more that we can broaden our experiences and expand our horizons, the more we're going to be able to grasp and at least get a feeling for what's going on. My belief is that before we were born, our spirit, our soul had a sense of who we'd be born to, what time era-wise we'd be being born, into what general conditions we'd be born into, some of the big building blocks of what we'd want to accomplish in this lifetime or pieces of puzzles that we're trying to put together. We had a sense of a purpose of why were we going to be born and come into a body and learn whatever we're learning and go through whatever we're going through. And I believe that there's a soul group that says, hey, we're all going to come on down more or less around the same time so that we can be there for each other, to support each other, to help each other, and basically add more resources and tools so that we can all be more successful in what we're trying to do. I know reincarnation is a topic that can be a little intense for people. Some people are like, nope, don't believe in it. Some are like, oh, 100% believe in it. Here's how I like to think about reincarnation. Because if our soul has the opportunity to progress, and part of what the source or Heavenly Father or God wants us to do is to become the fullest measure of our creation, to become the best possible, most complete being we can be. In their love and graciousness, and creating this whole system and universe that we live in and exist in, I think there's the opportunity for us to continually improve. And if we don't get it right the first time, we can get another shot, another shot, another shot. And each of these other shots can be a lifetime. And one of the reasons I believe in this is because I have some certifications in hypnotherapy. And when I've done regressions with clients, once in a while, we'd have them go back and they would access something that was from a whole different lifetime. And we were able to go back and document and prove like, yeah, this person actually did exist in this place at this time. And these things that you just know, even though you've never visited that place, must have come from somewhere. So whether it was a collective unconscious or whether it was actually a past life that this person had and that memory is in their life stream. I don't know. However, the value of believing in reincarnation is that it sets the tone for continually improving, continually striving. And when you get to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. Let me enjoy the celestial kingdom. Let me enjoy heaven. Let me enjoy whatever the other side of the veil has to offer and spend more time as a spirit and a soul exploring and creating in that dimension. You're able to do that. But if you want to keep coming back and trying different things and experimenting and exploring here, I believe you get the chance to do it. So that brings me to, what is the value of figuring out your soul's purpose in this lifetime? Well, there's a couple of values. First main one, of course, is that if you are living your purpose, whatever you do for your work doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It feels like I am fulfilling the purpose for which I was born. It satisfies you on the deepest levels of your being. Too often, let me roll the tape back to days when I had a corporate job, and this was my life. I would get up, I would do a little bit of exercise, a little bit of prayers, have my breakfast, get out the door, commute to work, do all my work. On the way home from work, I would stop and do some errands. I get back home, I do some chores, maybe chill out a little while, go to sleep. And the next day, pretty much get up, more of the same. On the weekend, slightly different variety. Sometimes I was traveling for work, sometimes not. Other times I'm just catching up on all the chores and errands that I hadn't been able to do during the week. Sunday, I like to chill out, visit with friends and family, and get ready to start it all over again. And that's how my days were, day in and out. It was kind of like autopilot, get up, rinse, rinse, lather, repeat, right? Over and over again. Once or twice a year, it would be different. I'd have a vacation, yay, a week or two, go do something fun, and come on back. Well, you know what? The days went flying by, the weeks went flying by, the years went flying by. And I realized at one point, this is all fine and good, but I'm not really paying attention to the things that are most important to me. I'm not doing things that fulfill that need for creative expression. I'm not prioritizing joy into my life. I'm not thinking about purpose and legacy. And okay, if I'm on this planet for 60, 80, 100 years, whatever, right? Who knows these days with medical science? What will be the impact that I've had? What is my legacy? Well, your legacy is often tied to the things you love to do the most, the things that you've created, and the fulfilling of that soul purpose. So if you were meant to be a musician and you love music, you play in a little garage band on the side whenever you could, and when you were growing up, and you just love to go to concerts, and that's the place where you feel the most joy in your life, and any spare minute you have, you want to be doing something around music, that's a clue for you. That's a clue to what's important to your soul, is that creative expression. And so I encourage you to do those things more and more, whether it's writing, whether it's dancing, whether it's exploring a certain type of field, whether it's travel. There's going to be something that's been on your bucket list for years, something that's on that to-do list of, the back burner of, when I have time one day, I'm going to fill in the blank. Well, those are the clues of the things that your soul is yearning for. And when I ask most people as a life coach, well, what do you want? They don't have an idea. And sometimes they say, well, I don't know what I want. How do you figure out what you want? Well, sometimes it's easier to figure out what you don't want. So, and take the inverse. So I would say to them, all right, tell me about what you don't want. Tell me about the jobs you would hate. Tell me about the kind of lifestyle you would hate. And they go through and they would say, okay, well, flip it. What's the opposite? So if you don't want to work outside, does that mean you want to work inside? Yes. If you don't want to work with animals, does it mean you want to work with people or with nobody? And you can start to craft a little bit and get a picture. And then you step back from your list and say, okay, now I know all the attributes of what I want in my life. What is a way to get there? What is a job or a profession or a hobby that is filled with so many of these wants and the attributes and characteristics of the wants? and start making more and more time to schedule in doing those hobbies or doing those activities, or even changing the job and taking a risk. It's really important that we have balance in our life between our finances, our health, our spirituality, our relationships with others, time, how we spend our work, rest, and play. Those are also tremendous indicators of where our soul is leading us and what is important to us. Because that balance, if it's out of balance, you won't have the clarity. You won't be able to see or feel clearly what do I really want in my life. When we are searching, one of the exercises that we can do, and a fun one to do, which is not very hard, is creating a vision board. And I have an example of one back here. And basically all you do is you get a big piece of oak tag, poster board, flip chart paper, whatever would work for you, and go get a bunch of magazines, or you can even browse online and print out pictures and words and cut them and put them in different places, things that resonate with you, things that say, I'd really love to travel to this place. Okay, get a picture of that place. I'd really like to have this quality or attribute in my life. Get that word. You can draw it if you're more skilled than I am. So I cut out the pictures and I cut out the words and I arrange them how I want it. And then what you do, once that's been created, you kind of use that as a meditation aid. And whether it's once a day, a couple times a day, once a week, you stick it somewhere where you're going to see it. And you can spend time just kind of contemplating it and looking at it and thinking, I want these things. These are important to me. And what happens is by taking the time to create this vision board, you are able to let your subconscious as well as your conscious and superconscious minds know, this is what's important to me. This is what I'm trying to manifest and bring into my life. These are the qualities I want to espouse. These are the experiences I want to attract. And little by little, these things start to show up. The more energy you put into them, the more time and thought in projecting them, the easier it's going to get. In a way, what we're trying to do is get to a point where we can live consciously with intent. And the intent is being in alignment with what you want and what fulfills your soul's purpose. When you have that trifecta, I used to go to the racetrack years ago. I like horses. It's a beautiful thing. So when you get it all right, when you have all the pieces of the puzzle together, that's when magic can happen. That's when things start to shift for you. And that's when the brick wall that was stopping you in your path that you're like, why can't I get through? That either falls away or a new path opens up to either side. And you're like, that's the one to go on. That's where I need to go. So I wanted to share those thoughts with you a little bit. I'd like to invite you to live more consciously and aware and be self-aware in your life. So if you love your job and you're like, I am living my purpose, that's awesome. You can make that even better by figuring out, well, what aspects of your job are the things that delight you and thrill you? If you're a nurse and you're like, oh my God, I just love being a service to people and being the one to help somebody through a challenging time of their life, that is a blessing. That's a gift. And you should embrace that. Well, how can you make sure that you are being taken care of, that you recharge and refill your battery, so to speak, so that you can be even more available to those who are in need as you're doing that job and feel even better about who you are and what you do? One other thing I wanted to talk about is about asking for help and having that heartfelt prayer and how important that can be in fulfilling, not just fulfilling your destiny, but in helping you through the hiccups in life. And I think I'd like to share a quick story with you now about something that happened a long, long time ago. I was a Reiki master and a metaphysical teacher living in Connecticut at the time. And a friend of mine who lived in New York City was having what's called a Reiki share. And she invited me down to bring my massage table down on a Sunday to come on down and help with the group she had. And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'd love to do that. So went down, had a great day. Now, this part of New York City was mostly stores, and they weren't very residential where I had to park, but on Sundays you could park there. And so I walked about 3 or 4 blocks to where she was, where it was residential, and went there, had a great day. On the way back, came, schlepped my table, got to the car, and then my car wouldn't start. And this was before cell phones. So I was like, oh, now what do I do? So locked the car back up, walked back to my friend's apartment, called my brother, who was a mechanic, and said, Rich, what do I do? And he's like, okay, well, there's something underneath the steering wheel. There's a valet switch type of thing. You might want to try this and try that. And so I got all the instructions as best as I can, and I'm not a mechanic. Trust me on this one. But I tried to do as best I could. So I open up the door to the car. I get in. I'm looking. I'm doing all the things he told me to do. No luck. So I put my head down on the steering wheel, and I offered a heartfelt prayer. I was like, God, please help me. I want to get home. I have a 90-minute drive ahead of me. I had a great day. I came here in service to be there for this friend and to help these other people during these healing sessions. And I just need help. I don't know what to do. And I'm not kidding you. 1 minute after, not even a second after I lift up my head, from pleading for help, I hear a voice of a young man standing next to my car. And my door was open. The car door was open because I had to kind of bend under to look. So I hear him, and he says, do you need some help? And I turn and look, and there's this young man, I would say maybe late 20s, early 30s, beautiful smile, blue eyes, curly, brownish blonde hair. But here's the catch. He's wearing a mechanic's uniform on a Sunday, no less, on a Sunday. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I told him what was happening. And I was like, oh, please, can you get in there and figure it out? And he said, yeah, sure, come on. So I got out and I went around the car. I sat in the passenger seat. He gets in, 2 seconds, bada bing, bada boom, under the steering wheel, boom, car starts right up. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. That was awesome. So I get out of the passenger side. I want to grab my purse so I can give this guy some money as a tip and a thank you. And I walk around the back of my car, and he's gone. Nowhere to be seen. And I'm in the middle of a block of a long New York City block. There's no stores or any places he could have gone in. He just vanished. I am 100% sure that was an angel that was sent to me to help me in that moment of need. And I believe part of the reason that he showed up is because the prayer was heartfelt, and I was doing something that was in total congruence and alignment with my soul's purpose, which at that time was being a Reiki master and healer, being a teacher, and helping my friends, helping new people learn how to be the best them possible they can be. And because I was in the service of others and living congruently with the purpose of my life, I believe that help came in that moment. And of course, I expressed profound gratitude and wrote a little journal entry when I got home, like, you're not going to believe what happened today. And I called a friend from home, like, I think an angel showed up today to help me. And I don't know what else it could have been, because I have no idea where he could have gone in less than 15 seconds it took me to get out of the car and walk around. But I really believe that heartfelt prayers are heard and answered, and that sense of gratitude creates tremendous momentum in our lives as well. So let's see. The other thing that creates some momentum in our life, when we're thinking about our spirituality and creating the kind of life we want to create for ourselves and manifest for ourselves, another tool that we can use is affirmations. And affirmations are I am statements that are typically in the positive, and they need to be something that approximates the truth. If they're not 100% true yet, they're at least truthful in the direction you're headed. So, for example, if I stood there and said an affirmation, I am 100% healthy, which I'm not because of, you could hear it in my voice. My inner child, my little BS detector would go off and go, that's not true. So that I am statement would not be powerful. What would be powerful and useful would be, I'm getting better and better every day. I'm getting healthier. The medicines I'm taking are working and I'm feeling stronger and my voice is getting back to normal and right. If I was to say, okay, my goal is to lose 100 pounds. And I say to myself, okay, my affirmation is, I am, and I fill in the blank of that weight. My body's going to go, yeah, no, you're not there. You just have to look in the mirror and say, you're not there yet, right? But I can say, I am working each day and getting closer and closer. I'm making healthier choices. I am moving in the direction I want. I'm exercising more and more. My clothes are fitting better and better. And little by little, I'm working on that goal and that sort of thing. So it's really important when you use affirmations that you phrase them in the positive. So you wouldn't say, I am not fill in the blank, because your conscious and unconscious mind have a hard time making sense of, well, what are you trying to create then? I think in one of the first episodes, I talked about, you can't create a knot. You can't say, or you can't think of a knot. If I say, don't think of blue, well, of course you're going to think of blue, right? Because I just said, don't think of blue. Well, to make sense of don't think of blue, our mind has to figure out, well, what is blue that I'm not supposed to be thinking about, right? So similar thing happens with your affirmation. If you say, I am not a smoker, for example, and because you're somebody who's trying to give up smoking, that's not probably the best way to word that, because first your little BS detector is going to go off and say, yeah, but you're still smoking, so that's a lie. And secondly, it can't make sense of what does it mean to not smoke necessarily. I am not this. Okay, well, if you're not that, what are you? So it might be, I'm a person who appreciates breathing fresh air, clean air day by day. I'm a person who is working on, doing better habits when it comes to this area every day. So I would encourage you to kind of think through what are some of your goals that you're trying to get into the better habit that will help you move you in the direction of the life you're creating, and come up with the creative wordings for those. The other thing to focus on is, what are you just saying in general? Words matter. Words have power. So what are you empowering with your life and in your life by the words that you're speaking? So I have this friend, and he keeps saying things like, oh, I have a terrible memory. I'm like, well, that's good programming. We're like, okay, maybe you're challenged with not having the best memory right now, but there's things you could do to work on that, right? So be careful not to claim and empower faults or challenges or things that you don't like about your life by saying those words very often, or claiming those words very often, right? So that's something to think about as well. Legacy is an interesting topic. I know I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I'm swinging back around to it, because legacy and purpose are tied together. Legacy is the reason why you want to do some of your purpose. It's like, what is it that you hope to leave after you're no longer here? How is it that you want to touch the lives of others? For some people, their legacy is their progeny, their children, their grandchildren, the families. Some it's the products they create. So the artists, the musicians, the authors, it's the writers, it's their books, it's their paintings, it's their songs, it's the aesthetic sculptures and pieces of work that people create that will be their legacy that far outlives them. For other people, for most people, especially if you don't have kids, it's the impact you have in the businesses that you run and create, the lives that you touch, the services that you offer, the interactions that you have with the people in your life and all around you. So if you're clear about what brings you joy and what legacy you want to create, those are going to give you some pretty big clues as to what you want in your life and your soul's purpose, and how to move in the direction even if it's just a little bit day by day. You may be so swamped with a full-time job and all the chores and errands you have to run that you're like, I'm lucky if I have an hour a week for me. Okay, well, take some of that hour a week and start doing something you love, something that was on your back burner, something that was always calling to you that you've wanted to do. Start there. So, and if you don't know how to start, spend that hour looking it up, taking a class, beginning to practice. Go talk to somebody who knows how to do that thing and say, hey, can you teach me? Can I hang out while you do that? Can you be my mentor? Can I apprentice with you if it's something that's more skill-based? Because trust me, most people, if they love what they do and that's their life, they're going to be thrilled to share with you how they do it, how they got to that point, how they made the transition from the typical day job to living that life that is filled with purpose and meaning for them. What I'd like to do now is share with you, speaking of purpose and sharing and fulfilling purpose, one of the things that I have been doing a lot in the last few years is bringing through channeled and inspired writings. And some of them are poetry, some of them are random thoughts and questions to ask and ponder that really shift my consciousness and help to share insight both with me and with other people. So I've been sharing those. I actually just finished my book, the latest book called Portal to Potential, The Muse of Monroe. And it's filled with a lot of these inspired writings and questions to ponder and ways to look at things in order to lead you into more insight, give you the chance to access the same sources of inspiration and hopefully find some upliftment and guidance in your life. And so that book will be available soon on Kindle download, as well as on Amazon print on demand. So you can look for that once again, and you can go to my website, of course, where you'll see the link, and there'll probably be a link on this down below as well. And what I'd like to do now is just read one of the poems that's channeled writings that are in there. It is called Here and Now. Like a drop in the ocean, I am contained within myself, not certain where I am distinct and where I dissolve and merge within the whole. I am ocean, but can only perceive myself as drop. Without the ocean, I have no context or meaning. I do not exist. Without me, the ocean is incomplete, which is impossible. We are both drop and ocean, part yet whole, source and hologram. Everything and nothing based on our choices, our awareness, and our capacity to be and experience love. I am here now. So thank you for tuning in today to our episode on spirituality and your soul's purpose. Before I go, I'd also like to mention that I have 2 upcoming events. If you are interested, please check them out on my website. One is happening this May. I'm going to be offering a Zoom workshop called Ancient Wisdoms for Modern Times. And I'm going to be going through the relevance of why do we care about some of these ancient wisdoms and symbols and traditions today. How can they be useful and helpful to us in fulfilling our soul's purpose and figuring out what spirituality means for us? So I invite you to join those. Those classes are going to be on May 7th, 11th, and 16th. And then the second course, or actually the retreat I want to announce is in June. I'm going to be co-hosting and teaching at a Sedona, Arizona retreat. And it's going to be called Path to Empowerment. And that's going to be on June 7th, 8th, and 9th. And again, you can get all the information about that on the website. So thank you again for tuning in to Spiritually Speaking with Althea. Please do all the wonderful like, share, click, all that good stuff that you do on social media to help spread the word. And have a blessed day.